Never give up, ladies and gentlemen, when you're working on your vehicle. Keep on going. If you have something to try, a possible solution, a possible test, keep going. If you're changing a part, you're repairing something, don't give up. I mean, within reason. Obviously, if you're completely in over your head and you're going to hurt yourself or you're going to completely destroy your vehicle, at some point, maybe you need to go reach out to a mechanic. But in general, if you got something else to try, keep on grinding. I'm about to tell you a story of getting air conditioning working in my 1988 E-150 van, and it was an absolute nightmare. It took over a month on a project that I thought might take a couple days to finally get my cold air going. I feel like there was an issue every single step of the way. Mechanical issues, electrical issues, stripped bolts, bad parts that I ordered. I mean, it was just an absolute nightmare. And these horrific fittings right here, these AC lines, can absolutely go to hell and never come back. I hate these things. But anyway, I got AC. Beautiful, cold air conditioning, and now I'm so proud of it. Every time I drive that van, I want to crank the AC. I don't care if it's freezing outside, because I'm so proud of my air conditioning that I finally got going, and it feels really good and to actually accomplish it. So I'm going to tell you the story here of what I went through to get the air conditioning working, and you might learn a little something and maybe avoid some mistakes. I did make some mistakes. So I had to change this from R12 to R134A, and I was already evacuated of the old R12 a long time ago, so I knew at least I didn't have to worry about that. There was no refrigerant in the system. And the first thing I wanted to do was change out the accumulator, and I ran into a pain in the ass problem almost immediately, and that's these lines I just told you about, these AC lines where this will go into here like this. There's 3 little O-rings. It'll go around here and it'll click in, and there's a little spring in there, springs back, and then it clicks in, and you cannot physically remove it. It's made so that refrigerant can't escape from it, but it's also made to be very difficult to remove. Now, normally you have to get these special tools. Sometimes there's a little ring around the tool that never works. You have to buy these little tools like this, and they click like this. You put this around here, you push in with one hand and you pull out with the other, and they'll disconnect. But the first one was absolute pain. I learned right away this is easier said than done. I'm sitting there, come back a little later, come on! Eventually it popped out. That was the easy side. This other side was in a little compartment in the van that you can't barely get to. The hand goes in like this, and you're trying to get around it and grip it. I'm having to grab, tools and whatnot to grab this other side and pull. Now, I did a video on changing the accumulator, and by no means was I able to really describe how much of a pain it was in the video. If I did, it would be an hour-long video, but it took me forever. Eventually, I did get it loose, though. So these are pain in the ass. These are normal pain in the asses, right? Just trying to remove parts and remove bolts can be a pain in the ass. The real problem came when I got the new accumulator, and I'm watching these videos on these lines on YouTube, and every single one of them says, well, when you connect the lines, you simply go like this and you push it, click. That's it. Oh, God, that's going to be nice. Did it click for me? Hell no. This side eventually did, and it wasn't easy. Yes, I put pag oil on O-rings. I had to put some lubricant. I do whatever I could. Come on. Twist it. Turn it. Come on. Click. But then there's this other side that was in the little compartment that I talked about that was so hard to get loose. No matter what, it would not click. It would not click. I could get it past the 3 O-rings, and even it felt like it was pushing in the spring. It would not click, would not click, would not click, would not click. Now, this is not that accumulator. I had to return it. It turned out it was something wrong with the accumulator. Something was wrong with the spring or whatever. This setup would not click because I bought another accumulator. Clicked immediately. Now, days and days of struggling, and I finally just bought a different accumulator, and it clicked immediately. So eventually I got it on, screwed on a part called the AC pressure switch right here. Everything was eventually done with the accumulator. Meanwhile, I was also working on other parts because I wouldn't just strictly stick with the accumulator. I would say, screw that, I'm going to work on the orifice tube. I'll come back to that. I'm going to go work on the compressor. I'll come back to that. The orifice tube, I'm sure that went perfectly smooth. In this vehicle, it's in a very small AC line. It was deep in there, and I could not reach the orifice tube. Every single video I watched, be like, just get a pair of needle nose pliers and simply remove the orifice tube. I'm like, oh, okay, needle nose pliers. Would not fit, would not reach it, no matter what. These guys would not reach it. No tool I had. I had to go to Harbor Freight. I did find a set of clippers. They weren't really strong, but they were small enough and long enough. The only one I could find at Harbor Freight was the right one that could fit it and kind of grab it. I had to spray in lubricant. Had to grab some locking pliers, put those over these new pliers, and just try to grip the thing and get it out. I put it in, grab it, did it come out? Would not budge. No matter how hard. Twisting, turning, would not budge. Eventually I had to go on to do some other jobs, come back to it, try again, couldn't get it out. Days and days on end. And it just took effort. And, you know, I didn't try to pull it as hard as I humanly could because you don't want to break anything. But at the same time, you know, you got to get the freaking orifice tube out. And just one day I just went back to it for a while. I was doing other things, working on this, working on that, getting pissed off. Would go back to the orifice tube, and one day I was just like, just popped out. And the third part I wanted to change was the compressor, which was unsurprisingly an absolute pain in the ass. Their 4 main bolts were okay. One of them was blocked by something. It was not easy, but I won't get into that. The biggest problem was where these lines actually connect to the compressor. I could not get this bolt out, and I never did. It's completely stripped, and it was always stripped. I couldn't get it out. I didn't strip it. It was already stripped. Couldn't grip it with a wrench. The special sockets that they sell that could maybe go around this wouldn't go around this, because look how close it is to this guy right here. It's right up next to it. Nothing will go around this. Now, I'm sure there are ways, drills, I'm sure there are ways. I tried different things for a while until I finally said, you know what? What if I take out just all of this? Just take out all of this and just put a new AC line like this in there. I was able to find it. It took days to find it. It was online, it was on Parts Geek, but it was listed under a 1989 Econoline instead of an 88. But I could tell from looking at the photos it was the exact same line right here, down to, you know, this little canister coming up here. Everything was the same, so I was like, I was gonna buy that.
I'm gonna buy it.
But what did that entail? Removing these bitches. Removing these guys, the stupid tools. Come on, and eventually trying to connect again. These things would just drive me crazy, because a lot of the problems I had, the solution would involve having to remove these mother effers. But eventually I did. Eventually I got a whole new line. I put the whole new line on. I did have to get different bolts. Obviously that bolt is stuck in there. I couldn't use that one. Needed a little bit longer ones. Anyway, eventually, going back and forth, going through all kinds of trials and tribulations, I got everything I needed, and I got the new compressor installed and bolted in with new lines. Finally, eventually connected. Click, click, goddammit. Click. Yes, I put PAG oil on the O-rings before anyone asked, all that stuff. These things were just an absolute pain. But now I had the compressor connected. I had the accumulator connected. I have a new orifice tube in there. We're ready to go. Need to just evacuate the system of atmosphere. It's already been evacuated of refrigerant, but you know, pull a vacuum on it, get all the whatever atmosphere is in there, get all the moisture out. I did that. I tested for leaks, and I did show a very, very slight leak, I thought. My dumbass, instead of trying to figure out where the leak is, thought, well, it looks like it's a very slight leak. Let me put the refrigerant in, and then later on I'll be able to detect if there's a leak somewhere. I'll be able to detect it, take care of that later. I'm so frustrated at this point. Now back to the beginning of the entire project, I had to put in the new R134 fittings over the R12 fittings, and all I did was screw them in with a wrench and put them in nice, and I thought that's all I had to do. Now we'll get more on that later, because I had more issues before we even get to potential leaks. That issue was the compressor wouldn't turn on. The compressor would not kick on at all when I tried to put the refrigerant in. After some research, I got a tip and that is this over here back on the accumulator. There's something called an AC pressure switch, which checks the pressure, and if the pressure's not right in the system, there's not enough refrigerant already running through the system, it won't allow the compressor to kick on in some instances. Sometimes when you start putting it in, it will kick on just enough to start grabbing that refrigerant. It'll kick on and off, and then when enough refrigerant gets in, it'll start running. In this case, it wasn't turning on at all. It wasn't doing anything. It wasn't clicking. It wasn't showing any sign of life. So the first thing I tried was getting a new, I thought maybe it was bad, looked old, looked beat up. I thought, well, let me just get a new AC pressure switch. They're not that expensive. That didn't fix the problem. Then I got a tip that what you could do is actually jump the connector to the AC pressure switch. You put a little jump wire in there and it'll bypass the switch. And then definitely the compressor will kick on. It did not kick on even doing that. So then I had to start checking for the electrical system, and I'm checking that forever. And using my multimeter, I was able to check. I would ground this one somewhere, and then I would plug this one into the connector that goes to the compressor. Interestingly enough, when the AC pressure switch was jumped, it was getting 14 volts. It was getting 14 volts.
1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts! Great God!
But the compressor wouldn't kick on. It's a brand new compressor. So I'm like, I mean, just problem every step. How is the compressor not kicking on? So I did all kind of electrical. I'm looking through schematics and all that. Even while I did all that, I fixed the cigarette lighter, which wasn't working because it was a bad fuse, because I checked all the fuses. But anyway, now I know I'm getting 14 volts. I feel like it's not an electrical issue. It's a bad compressor, I thought. I did follow the line that connects to the compressor, and it was connected to another more circular connector. And I was able to disconnect there just to take a look. And I saw like 2 female connections in the circular thing, and then over here had 2 prongs coming out. But actually it didn't, it had only 1 prong coming out. But I saw 2 female connector where you're supposed to connect the 2 prongs into. I'm like, wait a minute. 2, 1 prong, 2 holes there. So then I thought maybe probably one of those holes was for the hot, one of them was for the ground. When I would check that, it would work to 14 volts. So I'm thinking, this should have 2 prongs. This might be a bad connector right here. But I took it apart and there was some tape. I took it apart a little bit and I noticed there was actually 2 prongs, but one of them was kind of back here. They were connected to wires. The other one was going all the way through. So I had to push the other one all the way through. When I pushed it through, now there were 2 prongs. I mean, of all things, that's what I discovered. And when I reconnected it now, the compressor kicked right on. I knew right away, just when turning the key, I could hear the compressor engage. And I'm like, wow. Like, could there be anything else wrong? I mean, every single step. Like stripped bolts, like freaking electrical issues, parts not working, parts not connecting. I'm going insane, but I keep on grinding. And now, the compressor's on, the AC, it's pre-oiled, it takes the correct, everything I want to put in there, all the refrigerant, it takes it, and I got cold air. I can feel the cold air. We did it. When I go to disconnect the manifold gauges from the high, I disconnect the high, everything's fine. I go to disconnect the low. What was it doing? It's spraying out refrigerant. There's a huge leak. Come to find out, whenever I first retrofitted them, the old R12 connectors had little Schrader valves, and the new R134 fitting had a Schrader valve. These are Schrader valves, and they were hitting each other and damaging each other, and it was causing a major leak. Do you think the Schrader valve from the old R12 low connection came out nice and easy? I have a Schrader valve removal tool, but it wouldn't grip it. I bought another one at Walmart, wouldn't grip it. I bought all kind of needle nose pliers, because again, videos just like for the Orifice tube. Just take a pair of needle nose and just grab it. No, the needle nose would not grip it. And it's in an awkward position because the way the low is, it's against the back, it's facing down, it's very awkward, and I could not get out the old Schrader valve. I had to disconnect the whole lines and remove these mother effers again. These things took hours so that I could actually get the whole line out from the van to be able to work on getting the Schrader valve out, which was all stripped and jacked up. It was so old and messed up. And it took, like, I had to use a knife to get all the crud out. I just sprayed carburetor cleaner. I just sprayed lubricant. I had to get, eventually, I got that freaking old Schrader valve out. And then I also put a fresh brand new one in the R134 fitting, and I put it back on. And then I tested it for leaks by vacuuming out the moisture, and I still had a very slight leak. So then I changed out the high pressure. I checked that one out. That also had a Schrader valve, and I put in a brand new Schrader valve, removed the old one from the R12. Anyway, reconnected everything, and now tested for leaks, removed all the moisture, tested for leaks, no leaks. So that I went through all this, had to recharge the system again, buy all new refrigerant. This time it took it, and the big test was removing that low, and when I removed it and I heard nothing coming out, no leaks at all, cold air, took it for a spin, and after a month of just all these issues, I could not even put them all in this video. The struggles were just like every single step. Accumulator, remove the lines, couldn't do it. Couldn't reconnect the accumulator. Every single step, orifice tube stuck, couldn't get it out. Compressor, stripped bolt, couldn't get it loose. Finally got loose, compressor, wouldn't kick on. Electrical issue, freaking doing electrical testing for a week trying to figure out the issue. I finally found the issue. Schrader valves, leaks, just everything went wrong. But ultimately I got it done because I always had something else to try. Another step to go to. And it finally got fixed. So don't ever give up when you're working on your vehicle. I am super happy now. I got that AC. I'm gonna blast that AC everywhere. Not really, but you know, it'll be freaking dead of winter. Someone's with me, freezing. Like, turn the freaking AC off. Like, bro, this AC is staying on, dude. But realistically, like when I drive around now with the AC, my chest is out. Like, it's not that I did anything great. I mean, I made mistakes, but just to keep on going and figure out every problem. Because there were points where I'm like, I mean, even the blower stopped working at one point. It started coming through just the defrost. And I had to fix that because something came loose while I was working with everything, and I had to fix that, and that was a big pain in the ass. It took several hours to just fix it so I could get, because the air stopped working, and it was just like crazy. So just insane. But at the end of the day, we got cold air. Never give up. I'm putting up videos now on changing all these parts, the accumulator, the orifice tube, the compressor, the electrical issues, and of course charging the system. Retrofit from R12 to R134A. Make sure to remove that old Schrader valve. Remove the old Schrader valve and put in a freshie. Even if you don't know that the new one's good, unless you just bought a brand new fittings, it won't hurt to put in new Schrader valves. These are cheap and they break very easily, and they have little O-rings on them, so O-rings can get messed up and cause a leak. So holy crap, what a pain in the ass, but I got cold air. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. We'll talk to you in the next one.